What's going on, everybody, for USA Muay Thai? My name's Nate Freeman. I'm joined today by the newest 2022 World Games gold medalist in Muay Thai, representing USA Muay Thai, Ashley Thiner. Ashley, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, man, especially with this hardware that just happened to come in recently. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm having a great day. I'm having a great month, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about it.
Yeah, we were originally supposed to do this interview a couple days ago, but we had to reschedule. And one of the things that happened in between then and now was that you got that gold medal from
Yeah,
Thailand from the world
yeah,
from the IFMA Worlds. So I'm excited that you were able to show it off here just now.
yeah. Marcy brought it all the way from Thailand for me, and she is a fellow Californian, so she sent it on over. I think she triple bubble wrapped it and left me a very cute note, and I really appreciate her and having to burden that, the weight of this over here to America from Thailand. And then yeah, I was already a gold medalist, but it makes it a lot more real, right? When it gets put in your hand, you're like, I earned this. This is great.
And let's go ahead and talk about that. So that gold medal, like I mentioned, is from the World Games 2022, which happened here in the USA in my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. Um,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your experience. I know you won originally, and we'll get into this. You won 2 fights, and you lost to Italy in the gold medal match in a very
Mhm.
close decision.
Yeah.
At the time, what was your thoughts of the entire experience, and specifically about the final match with Italy?
Yeah, so Italy was a heck of a fight. I think it came down to two or three exchanges, which is why it was a split decision. And I had the first round outright, and she had the third round outright. So second round, it came down, like I said, to those couple exchanges. I there was at the end of the round in the second round, I threw a Superman punch, and I was pretty exhausted because I was giving it everything, and so I fell. And I think that really contributed. Lack of balance is one of the things they score on pretty big, and so if I'm making myself fall with how tired I am, granted, she ran into me as I was doing it, so it threw me off balance too. So it's kind of a two for thing. But when they look at that for scoring, it can come down to just that for a round. Besides that, we both had great moments in that fight, and then I lost my boxing, my hands in the third round. I was trying to win the first two. I'm gonna be honest. I came out strong, won the first one. I was like, I just need one more. I just need one more round, and I'll be a gold medalist. And so I tried. I gave everything in the second round, and I had nothing for the third. And so my boxing disappeared in the third round. But initially, as much as it sucks to barely lose, it also is kind of cool to like barely lose. um, Being at that threshold and that pinnacle of competition, it comes down to inches, right? And so originally I won silver on a split, and I was happy with myself. This was the best in the world. This girl has won 40 professional fights. She's a world champion in her own right, in her own country. They do their own world things. But this one, out of everybody in her country, she's the best. That's why she came to the World Games, pro and amateur. Same with Australia the day before, right? She was also a pro. I beat Yolanda Schmidt. We talked about her in our first interview. That was a crazy ride for me, emotionally, to do that and then go in and fight another world champion the next day was huge. So I was happy initially. I didn't want to, get down on myself for winning a silver medal when you're fighting the best of the best. That being said, it still bugged me. When I went to sleep at night, I would think about the miles that I maybe didn't run, right? The one extra mile, the two extra miles that I could have done on, certain given days. But so it ate at me. It ate at me for a long time, just knowing that I was that close and that I would never have the opportunity again. It, like for this particular one, because it was the first time USA competed in World Games. So it was like a history moment, right? At least for Muay Thai, that is. But it was a history moment that I was never going to get back again. So moving forward to when I found out, right? All of that realization when it hit me was a huge wave of emotion. I was happy. You know, I was sad. I don't want to say, but I was crying, like I yelling when my coach told me. I couldn't believe it, that because you never get second opportunities or second chances in life. That just doesn't happen. So to have a second chance at an opportunity I worked really dang hard for, was it meant the most to me. Out of anything I've ever done, I think that one meant the most. My So what happened is my opponent ended up violating the code of conduct, WADA code of conduct, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about specifics, but it wasn't anything crazy like steroids. But she did use something to help her cut weight, and it's easy enough. It was something real small, but having that little bit of extra energy from not having to run to cut the weight or sit in a sauna to cut the weight is helpful in those last moments when you have fought 3 fights in a weekend and you need all of the energy that you have, I did things the right way and I got rewarded for it. So good karma comes to good people, apparently. I did everything I could in that camp. I still feel like maybe I could have pushed my cardio a little bit, just because I don't think all of that extra energy she had came from it, but ultimately, I'm happy with how I did, and I'm happy that it ended up coming back around to me, that my work paid off.
Yeah, that obviously congrats to you for that.
Thank
Most, I mean, obviously, um, the people in the audience were biased, but from my recollection, most of the audience thought you had won. Like you said, you won the first, you won the third. Most people
Right.
thought you won the second, but that obviously could be a bit of bias, but
Yeah, yeah.
nonetheless,
I
we
mean,
thought
I'm
you
in
won the
US.
second.
Yeah,
So it's sort
I was
of,
in USA. Everybody's
yeah,
cheering USA. It was a very
yeah,
close round. I thought I might have edged her out. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I thought I might have edged her out, but I could see why they scored it for her, if that makes sense.
right. You mentioned the crowd chanting USA. What was competing under that atmosphere in your home country on the world stage? What was that like?
Yeah, I think I was the first person that fought for gold that day also. Uh I think I was the first person. Yeah, I was the first person that fought for gold that day. And so to come out and they're like, "Oh, gold medal rounds," cuz I'm a light female. They usually do a lot of the light females first, and having that pressure of going in and winning gold was actually awesome. Because you live for moments where a lot is expected of you when you expect a lot of yourself. And I expect a lot of myself on a daily basis. So having everybody else's standards meet mine for a moment was a very cool experience. Everybody's chanting when you came out of the little tunnel area. They put a big picture of you up, right? So everybody could, and it was my gold medal picture from nationals. Cut out for a second, but they put a big picture of you when you're coming in, and everybody's screaming your name, and man, we got a standing ovation. I think somebody wrote about it afterwards. I didn't realize, but everybody stood up after the fight happened because it was such a good fight, and I did hear a lot of people say that they think that I had it, and being an official, right? Because I'm not a fight official, but I officiate sports as a job for softball, and I do pretty high level for that. So, being an official, I have to try and understand both parties. And understanding both parties gives me ultimate accountability, which helps me progress farther and faster than a lot of athletes who refuse to take accountability for their losses, regardless of how close they are. So, I definitely think that I could have done more in that fight to win that fight. Definitely. Um, I was happy with my first round. I was really happy with my first round. I just needed to be able to do that for two more, right? Because I had her
Yeah.
figured out. It's just the amount of output that I had to do to maintain that in and out that I was doing was really difficult on my third fight of the weekend.
And I'm sure that that was the most amount of matches that you've had in such a short amount of time. Um, you mentioned it was your third match of the weekend. Um, what was that experience like going back to back to back on 3 consecutive days?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think the closest I came was Korea, and that was in 2019. I fought three times also, and I got gold in Korea. But with Korea, I think I had space in between two of the fights, so I think I had like a day extra in between some of the fights, which helps with the weight cut because you have to weigh in every day also, which is probably the hardest part. We're we're training our bodies to be able to fight every day. We're training, but we don't train for the weight cuts every day the same way. Some people do pre-cuts to try and simulate, but it's not the same. So pushing your body to those limits definitely it takes a toll at the time that you're in. I've never pushed myself as hard as I did in those three fights, especially in that third fight. After the fight, I actually came back and died on the floor for about 20, 30 minutes before I got up and was able to like talk to people because I was just trying to catch my breath. Um, that being said, the weight cut for that day was 2 to 3 hours closer to the fights than it was the other days because we were the last day of the World Games. So they had to do it earlier for closing ceremonies. So everybody had a little less gas than they had the 2 days prior because you messed up their routine. Now they got to go, but now they got to go weigh in at a different time, a little bit earlier. I think weigh in started 1 hour earlier. So they got to wake up at a different time, weigh in at a different time, and then fight with a smaller gap than they had on their last day that they're trying to recover before the biggest fight of their life. So it definitely took a toll on everybody. You know, there were a lot of third rounds that were like, oh, both of them look tired. Both of them looked like they went through it this weekend because everybody fought three times. They were all 8-man brackets. But being that tired afterwards, I realized some of it is also my so the sports bra they give you, or they don't give you, you have to order it, but it has cups in it and they like dig into your chest after. So afterwards, trying to catch your breath with that still on is a terrible idea. You have to go take that
Oh,
off
man.
immediately. Because you have to have chest protectors on as a female. And that's the only time I've ever really fought with chest protectors is for IFMA. So not having a loose enough one, I think, really affected my ability to recover afterwards. They were like, "Are you gonna make it to the medal ceremony?" I was like, "I will get my butt up. I will absolutely make it to the medal ceremony. You were not keeping me from that medal if you tried, but I'm gonna die for the next 30 minutes until that medal ceremony happens." So that was my experience. The 3 days was a lot, but Alabama's pretty hot, so it made it a little bit easier to cut weight. They didn't. The facilities were a difficult situation for a lot of people because of the lack of sauna. They had one sauna on campus, but it didn't open until the rec center opened on campus. So a lot of people had problems with cutting. They tend to cut in saunas. When we went to Abu Dhabi for World Championships, they had a hot room with that you could pour water on, make it real humid. They had a steam room, and then they had a cold pool right next to it. So you could go into all three when you were cutting weight and just sit there and cut weight all day with no problem. But a lot of people just had to run. And so a lot of people missed weight because they took them longer to cut than it usually does. And people had problems cutting weight just because of the lack of facilitation that we had in Alabama, being on a college campus like that.
Yeah, no, I I understand. We um, did not have the best of facilities down here. You could have gone down to the YMCA that was downtown and done that, but I wouldn't have recommended that either. But
I like to keep
and
myself safe in new situations.
yeah, yeah. Um, so you mentioned sort of the emotions that you felt as you were told that you were now the gold medalist. What people may not have known is that you found out a couple of months before um, everyone else did, before they released it to the public.
I did.
How hard was it to hold on to that information and not let people know that you are the best Muay Thai athlete in your weight category in the world?
Well, good news, right? You want everybody to have a little bit of good news in their life because it helps with their day to day. I told like my parents and everybody pretty quick. My mom, or both my moms rather, and my brother who I live with, and people like that who it's really gonna affect their day to day, having that little bit of good news. So I told them, and being able to share that with my intimate, group of people, the people at Steel knew, but nobody could post about it on Instagram. We couldn't really tell anybody, but it was kind of cool. It's like having a little club. You have this little club that knows that you're the best in the world at something, but when you have that validation from your intimate friends, you don't really need that validation, I guess, from everybody else. So for me, it was okay. I was a little, excited at first to share it with everybody, and I still am to an extent because it's a very cool thing, not only for me but for USA Muay Thai and as a whole, uh, due to the now that the increase in the standings for our medal count now is a cool thing, right? Being able to be that threshold for that is a cool thing. But sharing it with people as it's easy, and then it's also let's get back to work, as much as and so we did just get back to work. And so when I don't get back to work like that real fast, then not dwelling on it becomes really hard. Like I would want to tell if I didn't immediately like jump back into a camp, then sitting on that information, I think would have been a little harder. Uh, but jumping right back into a camp and having that hyper focus when you are looking forward to the next thing is really important, which is why we just keep climbing mountains in the fight world instead of, oh, I won this. Now I'm good enough to quit. Is no, we just keep climbing. We find a new mountain because that's who we are as people. We like to conquer things, right? So we find a new mountain and we climb that one. And so next mountain's going to be MMA. But God, I loved my Muay Thai mountain. That was that's something else, something I'm real passionate about and always will be, because it is an integral part of me.
Yeah, you mentioned your next mountain is MMA, and that you felt like sort of that the World Games 2022 gold medal was sort of the pinnacle of the Muay Thai mountain. Um,
Yeah, and all
and
my other mountains.
yeah, yeah,
It's the top of a
and-
really big one.
yeah, yeah. So, what is since the World Games, you've collected 3 belts in amateur MMA, and
Yeah.
you're looking to make your pro MMA debut once your hand heals up and you get clearance on that. So just talk about maybe what you've been up to specifically since the World Games 2022.
Sure. Yeah, we jumped right in, and then we fought November of last year. We fought MMA, but we had to jump back in and have a nice long camp with grappling involved because I wasn't allowed to grapple for 6 months. We couldn't have some stupid injuries, right, for Muay Thai because I decided that I want to be rolling in jiu-jitsu. So reintroducing that part of my life was really fun, right? Getting back into grappling is always really fun. And then we got the Epic, it's a promotion here in San Diego, Epic 125 title. Fought a pancration world champion. Uh, I had to look up what pancration was, but now I know. It's what a lot of the kids do growing up because it's no strikes to the head, but it's just like MMA. You just can't strike to the head. You have grappling and everything in it. Um, so I beat her. I got a 30-24 in that fight. That was really cool. It was my first time ever.
That's
Uh,
extremely difficult.
it's a fine line, right? So, so I
Yeah.
got a 30-24 in that one. That was a new little thing. And then, let's see, 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago, I fought for the camo state title for 125. And at the same time, I fought for the Valkyrie title. I actually didn't know I was fighting for the camo state title till 3 days before the fight, which is a funny thing. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's a double title," because I thought it was just a promotional title. They're like, "Oh, by the way, it's a double title." I was like, "What?" Okay, that sounds great. I get 2 for 1. I didn't even expect it. So I have the camo state title, and then I have the Valkyrie title, which is an all women's fight promotion here in San Diego also. So they're really cool. They're doing a lot of stuff to empower women through them. But that's where we're at. Next is going to be pro MMA. That's my next step. I'm hoping to stay local for a while. Maybe fight for Cage Warriors if they'll have me. Shout out to Cage Warriors.
You've got a
If they'll
connection with
have me.
Angela Hill that's with Cage Warriors San Diego as well. So
Yeah.
that should
Yes.
be able to help you a little bit.
You know what? I hope so. I believe in Angie. She'll help me out. But she actually was commentating them this last weekend. She went out there, had a
With
good time.
Steve-O.
Yeah, with Steve-O. He's a cool dude.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I definitely am gonna try and get in there, stay local, stay around my people since I traveled for so dang long. In Muay Thai, not having anybody in the crowds for a long time, and then all of a sudden having a bunch of people in the crowd was a huge differentiation, right? You're traveling all over these places, doing things internationally. You don't even think about the crowd going in. They announce your name, especially at tournaments. They just announce your name, you come in. But now we're picking walkout songs, and you got a little on whole crew that goes out with you, and they hype everything up. So I think that it was important to do amateur MMA to start to control that aspect of having a crowd and being able to kind of zone in while I still and ride that wave is kind of what me and Carl talk about. My coach Carl, he's like, you just got to ride the wave. Like you can't resist it and be like, oh, I'm gonna be, a certain type of way. You got to be able to ride the energy because it is infectious. It's not just gonna be stagnant and sit there and wait for you to impose your will on it. You gotta kind of go with the flow, be like water, like all those reels say, and ride the wave of excitement when you come in and allow it to infuse into your performance as opposed to fighting against it.
Yeah. And I think all of that, like competing in front of bigger crowds, is just a testament to all the work that you've put in throughout, like you said, your 10 years of Muay Thai, climbing that mountain, and making the move over to MMA, joining the likes of Valentina Shevchenko, Joanna. I'm not even going to try to say her last name.
I
Joanna
just say
Champions from
J-check.
Poland.
Yeah, I just say
Yeah.
J-check. Probably not right, but I say it. Yeah, those two fought for IFMA World Champions before they became MMA, phenoms, right? Because they were both world champions in UFC as well. So following in their footsteps would be a little serendipitous, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, well, we look forward to cheering you on in your new journey, in your new mountain, as you like to call it. But I'd love to hear, just jumping back to USA Muay Thai just a bit.
Yeah.
I think you briefly mentioned it that you getting promoted to the gold medal allowed the USA to become the number one ranked team from the World Games.
Yeah.
And then we followed that up last month at the IFMA Worlds by ranking second at the IFMA Worlds behind the host nation of
Yeah.
Thailand. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts
I
on
think
the progression of USA Muay Thai throughout the past couple of years and how the organization has just grown so quickly, so fast to become such a world force.
Sure. It's definitely been a transformation, right? I fought for them in 2019 and it was like, all right, did you win some of the USMTOs? Okay, cool. But a lot of times had to get like referenced in, and it was hard because there was no definite yes, you are qualified. Now they have that national tournament, which is total validation. Hey, any pro amateur can come in, fight for their spot on USA Muay Thai. It's a very direct path, and them being able to take something haphazard and make it organized and thought out, like, is a huge accomplishment. Then getting Olympic recognition, Muay Thai as a sport, getting Olympic recognition was also a huge step. And then USA Muay Thai just, rose to the occasion essentially. And they were like, all right, we have the talent. We just needed to get them all together in the right spot. That was evident when we went and dominated at World Games, bringing us to the number 1 seed. We were number 2, right? Which is still pretty good. But then once my silver got turned into a gold, we became number 1. I love being part of that. I love being that little flip coin, right? Like maybe. But more than that, I think USA Muay Thai is laying a foundation for the next generation of Muay Thai athletes. Having that path set to move forward in a world where you put a lot of trust in your coaches and your managers and all these people that, try to do it for you. USA is trying to take some of that guesswork out. And I think they've done a fantastic job. Now taking, second at World Championships. I went to World Championships. Same year I went to World Games. I actually lost my second fight at World Championships. I didn't even medal there. So them going and taking second, it's like a little bit of retribution for me. It's nice to see my friends succeed. I love seeing all the athletes on Team USA succeed. So us moving forward as a country and as an organization is something I'm glad that I was part of, and I will always be proud to have been part of.
Absolutely. And we're proud to have you have been a part of USA Muay Thai. And we look forward, like I said, to supporting you here in the future. Before I let you go, I do want to, as most people know, it is June, and people who know what June is knows it's Pride Month.
Really?
And you are an openly out athlete. You are engaged to your fiance Taylor, and I'd love to hear what it is like to be an out athlete and what this month means to you, and just sort of your reflections on all of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, growing up, it wasn't super easy, especially in high school, right? That was when Prop 8 was a big deal. I graduated in 11. So it was a little bit of a different time. But now, being an out, everybody's super supportive that I come across now. Nobody cares, Back then, it was kind of a big deal. But we even have our own month. We never had our own month before. So I think that's another progressive thing that's always fun, to have moments of reflection on that demographic that may have been really hard for some people, especially back in the day. Now it's less hard, and I am a walking example of that. I don't feel I don't feel any discrimination most of the time. You always got one or two crazy people, but when it comes to my general group of people, nobody really cares what you do, in your own house. As long as you're fighting Muay Thai, they don't judge you, at least in my group of friends. um, so being I don't know, I'm out and proud, and I just don't even feel the need to talk about it half the time, because it's become such a non-issue for most people. It's no longer something that people have to acknowledge. Oh, well, you better watch out because they're gay. That doesn't even come up in a lot of conversations anymore. So I think that we've made a lot of progress in the last 10 years, towards that semblance of peace. And that comes from, I think, for every generation is starting to just kind of come around to it. They're like, oh, it's not the weirdest thing in the world, because they had it too, right? They just didn't talk about it. I have an aunt. Don't tell anybody, but I have an aunt. Been living with a woman, I don't know, 20 years. Nobody questions it. Nobody talks about it. They live in separate rooms, but they've been living together 20 years, and that's just them. So it's crazy how far we've come in terms of our mentality towards it. Happy June, everybody. Go kiss whoever you want. That's my message.
Absolutely. Um, well, before I let you go, I want to give you the floor to thank any sponsors, coaches, anything along those lines. How can people follow you on social media? The
Right.
floor is yours to relay whatever message you want to relay.
Cool. So first off, my social media platforms. If you're seeing this, you probably already have them, but Facebook, right? You have to request me on Facebook. I should probably change that soon. Instagram though is probably the best way because you don't have to request me to follow what I'm doing. I keep my story on there updated a lot more than my regular posting, but my day to day I like to document for people that are genuinely interested in or have met me, a lot of them. And so my story's up a lot, but that's AJ
Hey,
Thai Fighter.
I just realized what happened to Technique Tuesday.
Yeah, so I kind of fell off a little bit. I have some recorded, I never posted. But I will pick it back up again soon, Nate, if it makes you happy.
It,
Um,
it, it would, yes. Anyway,
yeah, I'm
sorry to
working on my
interrupt. Keep
social
going.
media. You're good. It's part of the next chapter, right? Is working on my social media platforms as a professional athlete. So there will be more content in general. I'm definitely going to throw in a Technique Tuesday or two. I already planned on picking those back up a little bit, not to like an every week type of extent, but just like, hey, here's a little tidbit. This is what I got going on. This is what's working for me this week in sparring, and seeing if people have, the same success that I do. Uh, Hopefully, they actually get to use it. Some of them are a little crazy. Some of them don't use in sparring, but I will say that in the video if that's the case. So, next step, working on social media, Instagram predominantly. And then I want to thank a couple people because I do have a lot of help and support. My fiance is the biggest one, and that's Taylor. Carl has been huge in my next chapter for what Muay Thai has looked like, and then now transferring into MMA. Seeing me through that. Love Carl to pieces. He has a great mind for it, and his his strategy for me is helping me reignite my passion for all kinds of different types of fighting. So it's not just Muay Thai, but God, that man makes me love fighting more. So I appreciate him. ES3, physical therapy. Those ladies are awesome. They help me out if I do have some stuff that's going on, or even if I want to bulletproof my knees or my ankles. Right, they give me little things to work on so that I don't have little lingering injuries. And then I would like to thank Alpine Community. They helped me go out to the World Games and to Abu Dhabi last year. And then Real Estate Ninja Kimberly Walton. She is also one of my sponsors. She happens to be my mother. So shout out to her for sponsoring me and helping me out get to the places that I needed to last year. Steel MMA, my MMA and my MMA home, I would like to call it, my Muay Thai home. And then I am now training at Alliance regularly. You know, I have dual memberships. So shout out to Alliance. It has now become my grappling gym. And I think my family, my friends, thank you for everybody that supports me. I think that's about it. I got a lot of people to thank, but those are the main ones.
This has been Ashley Thiner, the 2022 World Games gold medalist, and will be hopefully making her professional MMA debut soon. Cage Warriors. You're
Shout
going to
out.
be getting a lot of tags of her account soon. Sign her and
Nate's gonna go
get
on a
her
trolling
on
mission.
the San Diego card in September.
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Nate.